Hi everyone, my name is Dan Cottrell, and I farm in Taihape on the Napi Taihape Road with my wife and our three kids, and we've also diversified into the world of quinoa through our brand KiwiQuinoa. We farm 600 hectares of medium hill country, breeding and finishing operation, about 3,500 breeding ewes, which are composites, a Texel Romney East Frisian composite known as a Taipi Tiger, and also 100, anywhere from 100 to 120 head of breeding cattle, a mixture of Herefords primarily and Angus Hereford cross. And we typically sell weaners and take some through to 80 months. So primarily a sheep and beef farm. The diversification into quinoa occurred parallel to us commencing our sheep and beef farming career. So in previous lives, Jackie was I was a rural banker based in the Waikato and the King Country, and Jackie was an agronomist. We also travelled around the world, and including a stint in Australia where Jackie worked in a feed nutrition role in agriculture, and I actually drove tractors and did things like that, and had a brief stint in the mining industry. So we've sort of done a few different things. We came back farming in 2015, and basically at the same time kicked off trialing quinoa. So yeah, the two things have really happened in parallel. And here's a photo of the farm, and basically just repeating from the previous video. So what is quinoa? Quinoa is a pseudo cereal native to the Andean regions of South America. It's closely related to spinach, beets, and more closely, the infamous agricultural weed we all know, fatting. It's been consumed for upwards of 4,000 years and remains a staple for the Andean people of South America. Its popularity has surged in the last decade, with the United Nations dubbing 2013 the International Year of Quinoa. This has been a major reason, or a major factor, in how quinoa has now expanded out of the South American continent, has now grown or trialled in over 90 countries. However, 80% of global production remains from Peru and Bolivia. Global production is approximately 250,000 tonnes, and to give a bit of context, that's less than half of little New Zealand's wheat crop, although it was only 80,000 tonnes around 2010. Here's a little montage to give you an idea of the plant cycle. So little dicot seedling, just like fatting in your brassica crop that you don't want. 6 weeks through to 8 to 9 weeks. 23rd of Jan, what's that, 12 weeks there, that's where that's getting close to full sort of seed head, panicle seed fill. Around 100 days, once it starts to senesce from the seed head down, we can come in with a winrar. Now I love this photo as it closely illustrates just how closely related quinoa and fatting are. Fatting on the left, and one of our quinoa plants in early flowering stage. That would be in early December. Right, you'll have to excuse the ums and stuff, guys. Hopefully I'll get better at this as I go along. But wanted to touch on what started us on this journey, or led us to growing quinoa, and it was actually it was our OE. Jackie and I were travelling through South America, Peru and Bolivia, and the landscapes were a big factor. I think it was just in a doing a lot of hiking and that kind of thing, and Machu Picchu, and you're eating quinoa soups all the time. And obviously, when you're traveling the world and you're open to opportunities and relate things back to home. So it was just really this little moment that stuck with us. And I thought, I wonder if it could grow here. So it really was as simple as that. Fast forward, once we finished up with the backpacking stint and settled in Australia, sort of just dug away with a bit of research and a bit of Googling. And that actually led me to travel back to the UK and France to meet growers there who were growing European varieties that had been bred from South American varieties of quinoa for specific traits, and had been commercialised in France and the UK, and that really kicked things off in motion. So I'll talk a little bit about it in the next couple of slides. But there's a key difference in the quinoa we're growing, which basically was a critical factor for us to commercialise this and go ahead with it. So when it comes down to it, quinoa is not a particularly difficult crop to grow. It is very resilient. It's a weak seedling, but quite tolerant to frosts. Doesn't need a great amount of moisture or water. It is a big feeder of nitrogen. We are building amino acids to make protein, a high protein seed. But other than that, it's nothing too stressful, really. It's a 100-day crop if you're windrowing, which we do with the white quinoa, or 120 to 130 days for red quinoa, which we direct head. The reason for windrowing is that gives us a brighter grain. So in the context of our sheep and beef farm, we were growing it just as a cash crop, a spring cash crop, where we would spray out pasture, we would cultivate and use a fallow, ideally for 3 to 4 weeks, to let any strike of weeds come away, tackle them, and then drill around that mid-October sort of labour weekend. We'll get a side dressing of nitrogen and magnesium just prior to flowering in early December. And that would carry on into seed fill first half of January, and then from then on the tap could turn off, we could get dry, and we'd begin the senescence process. By the end of January, we would go in with a windrower, and have a week of fine weather, week to 10 days, fine weather to dry out any weeds and that kind of thing. And really, it's the 9th of February, we'd be harvesting around about now. Now, as mentioned earlier, quinoa is closely related to fat hen, so therefore it's a weed. So that's probably the one challenge, is there's no herbicides, or we don't have that tool in the toolbox. But yeah, Jackie and I, our ethos has always been, look, this is a health food. We're growing this to be eaten as a food crop, and we don't need them. So basically, we've worked out a recipe, and with our growers now, that we're achieving pretty good yields without sprays. Growing this it's conventional but spray-free crop, so that's pretty cool. No insect pressure so far. We just, if it's fed right, and your soil preparation and crop rotation is done right, these plants will thrive in New Zealand. What have I got here? Lodging can be an issue at the end of the crop cycle. We've sort of got around that with a variety change. Just in this photo, the yellow variety was our first effort. It was known as Jessie, and it just loved falling over once it built a seed head. It was very frustrating. That's Jackie and I standing back, posing in the new variety. I think that photo is pretty old now. It's about 2019. That is Duchess, which is KiwiQuinoa as we know it now in supermarkets. And this year we've actually trialled a latest and greatest variety called Bastille, which I'm very excited about. So the genetics is improving in terms of yield and that kind of thing. So the lodging, yeah, we have sort of improved on that. We've got around the use of sprays with cultivation in the past. Working with arable growers, I've just been completely blown away by their skill set and their attitudes to soil conservation and minimum till, no till practices. And yeah, so pretty proud of how that's all going. It's going well. I was thinking what stage of the process we're at. We're 7 years since our first trials. And I think back to those 7 years, how far we've come, it's pretty special. So we always maintained we want it to be bigger than just us. We want to start an industry. And I think in just in the last couple of years, that's really started to come to fruition. So we're very fortunate now to have 6 contract growers. These are all cropping farmers, mixed cropping farmers, a lot based now in mid-Canterbury, around Ashburton, out to Methven, some down at sea level, around Taitap, but yeah, a big contingent in Canterbury. Got a new grower, organic grower this year, which I'm really excited about, based in the Wairarapa, and then we've had a long time, 3 year growing partnership with quite a reputable large operation based just out of Bulls. So that's really cool now to have other heads working on it. These guys are very, very good at what they do. It's been quite humbling, really. One grower blew our record out, the first time. He'd never even seen a quinoa plant. I found that really fascinating. So yeah, we thought, okay, we're going to leave it to the experts here. But basically, just working with good growers who share similar values and wanted to try something new. I think that was probably the big thing that got them on board. So we have so we've kind of matured from this little diversification of a paddock of a sheep and beef farm to now a marketing company, and yeah, and in terms of my farming career, it's very much I'm a sheep and beef farmer, wearing it then a KiwiQuinoa hat, so dealing with supermarkets and quality assurance and importing seed and from the Netherlands and this, that, and the other thing. So it has probably matured a bit, would be the best way to put where we're at. Got pretty big ideas. Exporting first and foremost. We do a little bit into Japan through a New Zealand expat there, but really, I see quinoa. It fits in our agricultural system. We know we can grow it very well with our altitude, latitude, rainfall, soil type, etc. And it also fits in our existing farming systems, whether it's as a cash crop for a livestock farmer or an arable crop as a break crop or in that cropping rotation. So it works well. We just need to grow the volumes. And I've got a hefty goal. I've always said I want to be 1,000 tonnes. That's just a big audacious goal. For a few years we were doing 30 tonnes, and this year we will, over red and white quinoa and with a little portion of organic quinoa in there, we could come pretty close to hitting 300, 250 tonnes, 300 tonnes. So that is exciting. When you consider that New Zealand was only really importing 400 tonnes a year, that's pretty old data. So I think quinoa consumption has certainly increased since then. But yeah, we're sort of 3/4 of that now. So we've actually grown the production because we haven't completely substituted imported product. yeah, but look, we want this crop to add to the list of this country's exports. In terms of the market for quinoa, I've mentioned earlier it's 250,000 tonnes is global production. New Zealand was only importing like 400 tonnes. I think if you extrapolate that out, it's not even 100 grams per person um, based on our population. So it is still very niche, both on the world and locally. Saying that, 10 years ago, many people wouldn't have even known what it was, and a lot more have now. So it is, it's one of these old world crops that has made a comeback, and that is just down to its nutrition. Like it is an exceptional. It has an exceptional nutrition profile. It's a complex carbohydrate, and it's one of 2 or 3 plants in the world that's a complete protein. Complete protein meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids. The biggest one being lysine, which we really typically only get from meat and eggs, or animal products. So on top of that, it's got a lot of heaps of potassium, magnesium, those kind of things. So it is very nutritionally balanced. So there, in terms of our market, going back to our market, there's been a big education piece. Jackie spent, a lot of time and energy touring around the country, showcasing the product, doing tastings and that kind of thing, which has been very important. So on our website, for example, we've created a whole heap of recipe ideas, just to showcase how versatile it is. So check that out on kiwiquinoa.co.nz, a little bit of a plug. I see that the market is only going up, really. It's just an adoption thing. So yeah, very, very positive. I'm very excited about it. It's really hard to pinpoint a single or the biggest challenge we've had, because we have frankly had so many challenges along the way, and it seems to be a different thing every year, and that is part of business. Early on, it was working out how to grow it, and the agronomy side of things, and in hindsight, that seems probably one of the more easier sides of the business. Certainly, the post-harvest, dots post connecting the dots post farm gate. So working out the seed cleaning and navigating the world of food safety. That's a very big part of my role now. We're dealing with food companies, where they will have an entire QA team. And if you think health and safety on farm is daunting, food safety is just next level. And working the logistics, all of that kind of thing, the marketing. So, each one of those has been a challenge that we've worked through. Cash flow and money. Everything takes money, and when you start a business, you tend to not really make much money. You're just spending it. So that is a very real challenge. And I'm happy to say, we took years just going backwards. But that is part of it. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but my child, I'm a middle child in the background, is sleep talking. So hopefully I can just keep talking and you won't hear it. Capital, human and financial capital. Yeah, it is. We've been lucky to form some great relationships with contractors. So it's still just Jackie and I working on the business, but we contract out. We use a contracting business for all of the distribution and the warehousing. We contract out the seed dressing. We're now contracting out the production to a seed company, to help sort of liaise with the growers as well. We contract out our agency for supermarkets. So it's really just about key relationships. And yeah, so that's been a great way to overcome come challenges, and you can't just talk about challenges without talking about opportunities, right? So, look, small domestic market, I've touched on it earlier, but the overseas markets, Australia and Asia. Asia's huge, really. I mean, quinoa, it's not a big difference. It's not much of a difference from rice, right? It's just rocket fuel rice. So I see Japan as a market we really want to do. We really want to sink our teeth into. That's sort of high on my goals this year. Value add products, flour. That's a big opportunity for quinoa. And our largest customer takes a milled flour product, which then is used in an application of their product. So we've also done R&D, a bit of a research project onto a plant milk, a quinoa milk. I got to taste chocolate quinoa milk and strawberry quinoa milk and decided I'd leave it at that. But we have looked at that, and really we want to basically become the New Zealand main. If there's anything about quinoa in this country, any quinoa product, we want to do it. So currently we produce red and white quinoa, and with the first batch of organic quinoa this year, and we want to get black quinoa. Basically, those are the three types. Then they even mix them all up and call it tricolour quinoa. So that's sort of where we're at for challenges and opportunities.